Welcome to the Trust Factor Radio, bringing you interviews and insights to unlock the power of the subconscious mind to create authority, credibility, and trust. With your host, the Authority Architect, and best-selling author, Neil Howe.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, and today my guest is Jared Carrizales, and he helps companies increase revenue, rankings, and web traffic through content marketing and link building campaigns. Jared has been in the digital marketing industry for over a decade, and throughout that time he's worked with small one-person businesses and up to Fortune 500 enterprises. Well, Jared, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Neil. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Really looking forward to sharing some knowledge and talking about what we do.
Well, we say content is king, but link building is one of the main things that, or links are one of the main things that Google looks at to rank these websites. And there's a little bit of controversy around link building especially. So I'm really excited to get into this and just to see what your opinion is and what has worked for your clients. So tell me a little bit about who it is that you help, Jared.
So we help, again, going back to, what you mentioned already, we traditionally, in the past, actually, we've helped smaller companies, medium-sized, even up to larger companies. Now, with the shift, the industry shift to kind of content marketing and again, link building, we have moved more to working with the chief marketing officers, the CMO level, the even SEO managers, depending on the organization, flow, if you will, a hierarchy. And that's the person that we will often work with or their team. As far as industries goes, we work with a lot of different types, a lot of tech, some software companies. Every now and then we'll have just the right fit for a local company, like a franchise type situation or regional type of locally owned business. But yeah, they normally want some additional marketing help. And so we come in there, and if it's a good fit, we'll help them out.
All right. So what are the chief problems that these companies that you help have?
The biggest problems, a lot of it's timing. They don't have the time to actually implement some of these tactics. They don't have a lot of the procedures in place, and the process, the system of getting the content out there, getting it promoted in a way that is actually beneficial for not only their own users, their visitors, but their bottom line as well.
Yeah, it's very hard to keep up in this industry, the digital marketing industry. There's always something changing, especially with SEO, with all the different algorithm changes in Google. And just, knowing about them is one thing, but implementing them, like you say, is a completely different thing, right? Exactly.
Yep. It's funny, along those same lines, we used to be when we were more on the strictly service side of things, we were a little bit, let's get into a couple phone calls first before we start talking about price or, things like that. And you kind of want to shy away from that. At least at first, you have a lot of competitors calling, trying to find prices and all kinds of stuff like that goes on. But now it's a lot different because we're kind of quasi product type of firm in delivering a lot of these links and campaigns that result in link acquisition. And so we're a lot more upfront with what things cost, simply because you're right. At the end of the day, even if you do know the cost, you still have to do it. And it's very difficult to actually get that done in a meaningful way now, especially, again, if you don't have that process there. So, we kind of come in and provide that for them.
Right. And of course, having the systems down, you still need somebody to, well, first design it, then implement it. So it takes a lot of manpower to do the kinds of things that you do.
Right.
So it is more beneficial for a lot of companies, I imagine, to hire it out to somebody that already has the system done.
Right. Right. Absolutely. That's generally the case. That is a huge, huge part, probably the biggest part of why people come to us, simply because, we have anywhere from 3 to 5 people on every single campaign that we do, simply because there is so much that goes along with it and so many disciplines, from the finding the actual, people that we want to reach out to creating the content, to actually negotiating, whether it be email or by phone, on achieving those links and placing content and things like that. So it takes it would be a very expensive endeavor to hire the same people just for one single company, if that wasn't a main priority, of course.
Mm-hmm. All right, so walk me through the process, Jared. What people are usually looking for and how do you implement it?
About like what they're looking for in terms of like their goals.
Their goals, as far as, obviously they're probably looking for higher ranking, more traffic, ultimately more business. Mm-hmm. So how do you help them with that?
Right. So it's always about more money. I tell every, prospect that comes to us, we know that your goal is more money, and things like referral traffic from the links we create or rankings from the links we create. It is all, means to an end. You want the business, the extra business, you want the money. And where we come in is we have a fair amount of latitude in terms of, a lot of companies will just build to information type, pages, white papers, blog posts, things like that. But we also build to money pages, sales pages, new products that come out. And so that is traditionally a very, very difficult thing to do. E-commerce is a perfect example of this. It's very hard to get links built to a completely commercial page with nothing but products on it. But those are some of the biggest sales drivers for companies like that. So that is one of the biggest things that we provide in terms of, I guess, competitive advantage that you'd say for the client against their competitors, that is, by being able to have those links or that backlink profile that has a healthy amount of links to the money pages themselves, to the pages on their website that actually is generating the revenue. So that's a big piece of it. And again, going back to the just the process and having it built out and having it tested over and over and over. We're constantly testing. That's a pretty big piece too. I hope that helps.
Yeah, let's before we get into the link building and exactly what a good link is, let's talk about links, because ultimately Google says SEO is somewhat gaming the system, and you're supposed to grow links organically, but that doesn't generally happen right. Unless you've got some great content and it's really shared socially, and we would all love that to happen, but that's not really reality, is it?
Right. Even when it is reality, you still have new things that come along. You have new products. You have new business changes that you want some PR behind, some extra links and ranking power behind it. But yeah, we would love that. Everyone would love that.
So what are the benefits of linking, and how does Google look at those links in order to rank?
Right. So the kind of high level view is it's usually described. A link is usually described as a vote that gets counted. A link that goes from one website to another website that search engines count as a vote. That is probably the most simple way to look at it. Obviously, the more votes you have, the better the situation for your website or that particular URL that is getting the link. However, the slightly more nitty gritty definition or version of that is that each vote is different, and the links themselves have varying qualities based on a variety of different metrics. The where it's coming from, the authority of that particular website, and the relevance, especially is huge of the link that it's coming from. So there's quite a bit that goes on, but in general, yes, it is a matter of trying to get as many good quality links that you can to come inbound to your website or a particular URL. The search engines, obviously, they pick up on that. They see it. They crawl through when they're looking through the internet, they crawl through and find that you have a new link pointed to your website, and they credit, if you will, your ranking accordingly.
So as far as you setting up packages for different businesses, what does a link building package involve?
So we generally do a couple different versions of building links. So a lot of clients will come to us with a very specific, they want content. They don't just want the links, but they do want really good content so that they can, garner that authority. But some clients come to us and they just want the links. And so we do have packages that are available to them. And those packages are structured by industry. I can't ever do a bad job. Like I am not and that sounds like a weird thing to say, but I want everything to be just awesome as I can make it whenever I work on a project. And that's work or personal for that matter. But, I am of the mindset that, the package that we have should never, any link that we create should never be, a little less quality to make it a little cheaper for the client. So we structure our packages by industry, by niche. It is very difficult, or more difficult, I should say, to build links in certain industries. Good examples of this would be the legal industry, anything in health or real estate. Those are very, very difficult industries to build links in. So we have 3 tiers, if you will, of packages that a client can come to us and say, hey, I want 5 links, 10 links, 20 links a month, and we will we'll work on that for them. But they are kind of bucketed in their package, if you will, already because of whatever based on whatever their industry that they're in is. So in general, that's how we kind of package those. And again, I don't believe in the structuring things by meaningless metrics like domain authority or page rank. Hopefully no one does that anymore, but I think it's more about the quality and like you mentioned earlier, achieving the goals that they want, which is in some form or fashion always based around money. So it's important that we provide that to them, but also do it in a way that is, of course, fair for both parties.
Right. And things have moved on in, the recent years, the last 5-10 years. How you rank on Google has radically changed. We used to get packages with hundreds of links, and now it's, 5 links can make all the difference. So, how many links are the right amount?
Man, that is a loaded question, Neil. The short answer in anything in SEO is it depends.
Yeah.
But I suppose the longer answer would be it depends on the industry. We have seen incredibly competitive industries such as legal. Actually, it's funny we're bringing this up. I just had this conversation today, literally 2 hours ago, in which the on-page work or optimization of a website of a law firm was exceptional, and so much so that when they opened up a branch in a new market over the last month or so without any links, have already appeared on the first page. And now it's up to us to go in there with the off-page optimization, the link building, and the content marketing, and push that home, get it to the finish line, and that's the perfect scenario. So in that situation, complete guess, knowing their market, knowing the niche, I would say anywhere from 15 to 25 links. That's very wide, obviously, range, but I would say that would get you. It's a smaller market that they're in, but extremely competitive niche. I would think that would get them very, very right there where they need to be, probably up top. So it really depends. E-commerce is a little different. Service-based businesses are very different. They're kind of cutthroat in their own way, competing with 100 other AC and HVAC, companies in one area. That can be difficult as well. And they all have varying amounts of links that will help them achieve their goal, the amounts. And I will say most of the clients that come to us, they get anywhere around 10 links. Usually the average is about 10 links a month, depending, again, on their goals. We have a couple that, will get 5 every month, recurring, and one that gets 35 every month. And that's a massive, massive project just because, like you said, the game has changed quite a bit. We're not, no one that is actually getting results anyway is going out and selling packages that are, provide 100 links in, an hour.
Right.
That's just not.
Well, I know from experience that the top guy in SEO in Atlanta, based on rankings on that number one position, does exactly what you're doing, and just, it's a few links, but they're all quality. So how do you reach out to, or what really goes into getting a link, and how are you able to get some other site to give you that vote?
Sure. So, again, we'll go short answer, long answer here. The short answer is trust, and helping their own audience out. That's it. I mean, that is the crux of all of it. This is a relationship building business. This is not, it's not link building. We're relationship building. The best link builders I've seen are they all have a couple traits, in common. They're, very organized for one, but they are also big, big go-getters. I tell our team all the time, you have the mentality of what can I get, right? And not only that, but okay, what can I give too? And it doesn't always come in that exact, that order. Sometimes you're giving first. There's people that we connect with and, do favors for and, reach out to and help out any way that we can, because maybe we'll need something from them down the road. And that happens all the time. And so, being a very good relationship builder is really what, link building is all about. And that has never changed, but it's only become very popular since the search engines, Google specifically, has started cracking down on some of the more automated tactics. So that is definitely the big thing that we try to do.
So are you reaching out to companies within the same niche and offering to do guest posts on their blog or on their site?
Sometimes, sure, absolutely. Guest posting is definitely a viable tactic that we still use. It's one of many, for sure, absolutely, and that helps their users. It helps us as well, and gets their word out there. The client, that is, their word out there. Their name, their brand recognition. Absolutely.
And Jared, as far as you mentioned with that law site, that their on-page was, spectacular, what kind of weight is given to that on-page? What kind of weight is given to the content that's on the site, as well as the links coming in?
Man, if I knew that, Neil, I don't think I'd be working at Google,
Yeah.
In our experience, so Google has come out and they've said, links and content, those are, the number 1 and 2 most important things that we look at, and not in that order. Rank brain, being the third. But those two, links and content, those are both of them extremely important. If you can nail those, I mean, you're good to go. In our experience, the difference, if I had to put a percentage on it, on looking at those three things, I think, links and content would be pretty split down the middle of having, 40% and 40%, and maybe RankBrain takes the other 20%. I think they're very, very close in importance. We've had sites that, like the law firm, their on-page optimization was just exceptionally well done. And we've gone in there and still had to build, quite a few links, still building, quite a few links, as they expanded different markets and working on different service pages that they have. And we've had the opposite happen where, the on-page is just horrendous, and it's the website is unnavigable and very hard to get around and kind of an eyesore to really look at as well. And build links to it, and build links and build links and build links, and good links, different tactics, all kinds of stuff. Try to diversify, and you move the needle with campaigns like that, but not nearly as much. So I think they both have a maybe not equal, but close to equal, very, very hand in hand type of partnership relationship of actually needing both of them to get your goals across and achieved. And
is that something that you do for your clients as well, going in and fixing their website from that technical aspect?
Sometimes we do. We do that on a case by case basis. It kind of depends. But yeah, sometimes we do. Depending on what's needed, that's probably the best answer. Depending on what's needed, we will. And if we're having to go super deep and actually get into the code, and that's not something that we're going to really take on. We have a lot of partners that help us out with that, and are far better at it than that. We're not developers or anything like that. And the last thing I want to do is go and compress files and images and to try to get page speed half of what it was. And that kind of stuff is not really what we do anymore, or we used to. But we want to focus on what we are very, very good at, and where we can make the most bang for the buck for the client.
Yeah. Excellent. So talk to me about some of the myths and misconceptions about SEO then.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, where to begin? So SEO in general is one of those, a lot of people think that, it's quick. The biggest one I think that I've seen in the last year or two is that not just that it's quick, but that there's this combination. It's like a lock, right? All right, we'll hire Heroic Search over here, and they have the magic combination that after a while they can open up the door and we'll be home free. It's not really like that. It's a continuous effort all the time to update this and change that, and even then that is probably the combination side of it, but the user side of it is extremely important. And that has been, for me personally, the hardest thing to really get across to clients in terms of changing the way that they think, is because, I will tell clients, I'll tell them SEO is, think of it as an art, not, math, right? Math is more all right, there's a right answer, there's a solution to this equation. But, SEO is not like that. It can be a little subjective in some ways, because at the end of the day, a big part of ranking is user behavior on your website. So even though you have, completely optimized on page and you have a great backlink profile, if the site looks terrible, no one's going to buy from you. No one's going to stay on the site long enough to give you any kind of meaningful user metrics that, Google can look at and thus use as ranking material and factors. It's just not going to happen. So, nor is your branding going to be very well optimized in other places, and that's going to take its own toll. So, it is a full, complete circle, and explaining that is very, very difficult to certain clients.
Right.
But that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions, especially recently. Yeah.
Yeah. User experience, definitely very important. I see a lot of these blogs, articles from different giants in the SEO marketing world, and user experience is one of those topics that's talked about all the time. Now, as far as the future, what do you see happening in the future? I know voice search is becoming more and more popular. How is that impacting how things rank?
Right. So, that's a really good question. On voice search, I think that I think we're going to start seeing a lot more we're already seeing a lot more connected devices. And I think that search will continue to actually shrink a little bit, not in terms of like how many people are searching or the amount of searches, but in terms of the on-page real estate of the search engine ranking pages, the SERPs themselves, is I think will only continue to shrink, especially thinking mostly within Google here, and I think they will be influenced significantly by voice search. Because obviously, the massive amount of data that's collected from voice searches are going to be reflected in desktop and mobile as well in some form or fashion, even if only to help influence what the queries are, meaning if you search for this, did you also want to search for this? Those type of, sharing that data back and forth with voice, I think is going to be a really big part. Obviously, the boxes up top, what we call the knowledge graph. Those are your quick answers. How much is 100 times 100? And what movie was this? Brad Pitt in. Things like that. Those will continue to be important to optimize for. They already are, but they'll probably be even more important because those are where the answers come from for voice searches. And so you're only going to have more emphasis on content and extremely descriptive and structured content. Both of those are going to be very important in terms of carrying over to voice search answers because they're going to be included in the knowledge graph. At least that's the hope anyway. So those are some big ways I think that's really going to affect search. And again, going back to the other devices that you have, even in our own homes, I think there will be a way to, change or at least connect, I should say, voice search to all of those devices that, the Internet of Things is able to connect with each other. So,
yeah, that's right. Technology is moving ahead rapidly, and we as humans are struggling to keep up sometimes, it seems.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
Well, Jared, we talked about the end result being more business for your clients. Give us some case studies of anybody that sticks out in your mind that came to you with the problem. What were you able to do for them, and ultimately, what was the outcome?
Sure. Let's see. So I guess so one that I've always been kind of proud of. It's we worked with an e-commerce client, and they were trying to specifically get more wholesale signups for their product. And I like to tell people that with major, what we call content assets, big pieces, take a lot of time to produce as well as promote. You're trying to hit, three main goals. You're trying to get traffic, you're trying to increase rankings, and you're trying to hit revenue marks. And those can kind of change from company to company, but in general, they kind of revolve around those. With this particular campaign, we actually polled hundreds of their target market and put the survey data itself. They were polled, maybe 10 questions. And we put the survey data into, an infographic and, promoted it after it was completely created. and promoted to a lot of all the participants, as well as some other people on our list that didn't take part. In addition to news outlets, and this was all very, very completely unique information in an already very new industry. It was in the consumer industry. I won't say the exact client, but it was a very, very, very new product. And after it was all said and done, the whole campaign from end to end, took around 7 months. And wholesale signups, were a huge increase. Resulted in 5-figure revenue from those signups, and in just that one period. Obviously, a lot of these people will come back and order more, but and obviously, rankings. We got a lot of links, we got a decent amount of exposure from it, so it really hit on all those levels. So that was always been a favorite of mine, simply because that's a tough thing to do. Not every campaign, even if it is successful in one of those areas, and can certainly be called profitable even in one of those areas, but getting all three is in my experience anyway pretty tough. And everyone obviously came out of that deal a lot happier, even the wholesale signups, so yeah, it was a good campaign, something I'm definitely proud of for sure.
Excellent. Well, achieving those goals is everything that the client is looking for. Jared, this has been really great information. I talked to a lot of people in the digital marketing space, and what you're doing is definitely right on cue. It certainly works the way that you're working. You've got to be cautious, I think, of some companies that might sell you hundreds of links or only do part of the business. So, it's nice to see that, not only are you doing the right thing for your clients, but obviously you're getting the results as well. So if somebody listening to this, Jared, wants to reach out to you for help, what is the best way for them to do that?
Email is probably the best. It's JARED at heroicsearch.com, like heroes, or they can just go to the website and send over a form, and that'll get to us as well.
All right, excellent stuff. Well, Jared at heroicsearch.com, based in Dallas, Texas. Yep. Thanks very much for being my guest on Trust Factor Radio today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Neil. I appreciate it.
And to our listening audience, if you like what you hear, hit that like button and share, and we'll see you next time on the show.
You've been listening to the Trust Factor Radio with Neil Howe. To learn about the resources mentioned in the show and to listen to past episodes, go to thetrustfactorradio.com. To get a copy of the book, The Trust Factor, go to thetrustfactorbook.com. If you are ready to act now and build your authority, credibility, and trust, schedule a consultation with Neil at theauthorityarchitect.com.